Atheist Nomads, episode 133, interview with Eli Bosnick.
The podcast you're about to listen to includes cursing and talking about hoo-haws. Please be advised.
We are the Atheist Nomads, bringing you history, science, politics, religion, and interviews with leaders in the atheist community. Not all those who wander are lost. Welcome to another episode of Atheist Nomads. I am Dustin. Joining me as always is Wesley.
Oh, hello everybody.
And joining us for an interview for the first time is Lauren.
Lauren, the amazing Lauren.
At least joining us for an interview where she isn't the guest. So.
She's awesome.
And joining us today as our guest is Eli Bosnick, co-host of God Awful Movies, a frequent guest on The Scathing Atheists, a professional New York City magician, and former stand-up comic. Eli, welcome to Atheist Nomads.
Oh, thank you for having me, guys.
Hello. All right. I've been looking forward to talking to you for, well, a long time. Because you got a good style. I like your vibe.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And in my mind's eye, you're like really sexy, but I'm betting you're like small and not pretty.
I mean, it depends on who you ask. Generally, I would say anywhere between 100% of the population and everybody agrees that I am not sexy. But I think I'm pretty sexy. So
I think he's got some geek cred.
I've got some geek cred. Yeah,
your
I got the
kind of do it for me.
Yeah, I've got the glasses, I got the Tom Waits voice, and I'll tell you what I do have going for me. I got the tummy. I got the tummy, and the tummy is super in vogue right now. A lot of people think it's not. A lot of people are all about the abs, and they're wrong. They're wrong.
That dad bod.
Just that little bit of pooch. Just that little bit of pooch that says, hey, look, I'm going to go to the gym when you want to go to the gym, but I'm not going to go more than you, and cheating on you seems like way too much energy. So you don't worry.
That's awesome. Respect.
You're never going to walk in on me cheating you. You're going to walk in on me masturbating.
The belly says you enjoy beer. You enjoy life.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, you get it.
I do. I really do. Okay, I'm hungry.
We just slowly eat for the rest of the podcast. Lauren's like, hey guys, do you want to ask about... No, it's fine. My Chinese food just came.
All right, so Eli, let's go ahead and start with a hard-hitting question.
Ooh, journalism.
Why the hell are you putting yourself through watching bad Christian movies? I didn't even do that when I was studying to be a pastor.
So little backstory of how I ended up on Scathing Atheists. So me and Noah and Heath all knew each other, and I used to work in a toy store in Manhattan. I used to work at FAO Schwartz. They also worked at FAO way back before they started their cast. And we knew each other through mutual friends. Anytime anyone would quit the company that they worked for, we would do a roast of that person. And it was an open roast, and just sort of Comedy Central style, go up, say the meanest, funniest stuff you could think of about that person. And so I would sort of became a frequent guest, and I did it over and over again. And then eventually they said, hey, we're starting this little show. Nobody really listens to it, but you want to be on it. And so the first episode I was ever on, I was in a sketch where I was like, God talking to one of the angels. And then eventually I ran for Pope, and they got good feedback for when I ran for Pope. I lost, by the way. Spoiler alert. And then eventually they brought me on for the Bible segments, which then turned into our first ever review, which was God's Not Dead. And the movie reviews just became a reoccurring theme. And then last year, in the middle of the year, they had gone on to podcasting full time way before, but I suddenly lost my full-time job. And they said, look, why don't we put up this idea on Patreon? Because people had tweeted us and been like, oh, you should do a movie show. And we were like, okay, great. Thanks, 2 people in the middle of Idaho. I'm sure you would love this.
Thanks to people who obviously have money and don't know what being jobless is like.
Right. And so we were like, we'll put it up on Patreon. We'll see. We set a crazy high goal. We were like, look, let's just put up a goal that like will allow me to live and not have to go get another day job at an office somewhere. And we hit the goal in like just over 48 hours. And we were just totally blown away. Yeah, just totally blown away. And we've been doing the show ever since. So that's the story of why I do it. And the answer of why I love doing it is because I just love making fun of things. And it's so easy. Christian movies are so they're just constantly give you more and more. Every week, we're like, all right, we're going to run out of stuff. There's going to be a week where we go, you know what, we've really run the gamut. But then there's a movie that's like, this movie's about if you get raped, you should really go and ask your rapist to forgive you. The movie. Go check it out this week on CNN. And there's always there's a new bad idea every single week. And what's fantastic is, so I was a high school bully. So I never run out of mean. And that's interesting. I've told this story before, but I grew my bully powers as a kid like a mutant, like Magneto from the X-Men. Like all at once. And I've told the story before and I could tell it again. But the point is, I've always had just sort of an infinite supply of mean. And this is the first time really in my life I've ever gotten to apply it to something that I think is good. Usually people are just like, hey, didn't you cause a suicide attempt in high school? And I'm like, that's not the point. That's off subject. This interview's over.
He deserved it.
Yeah. So that is why I watch these movies over and over again. There's always something new to make fun of.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they keep making movies, so
they keep making movies, and these movies make a ton of money. A ton. Like some of the lowest. We watched a movie this week, which is just so terrible, and it comes out tomorrow. Christian Mingle, the movie, which is literally just like a 90-minute ad for Christian Mingle, the website, and it's so badly edited and acted. It's just a nightmare of a film, and it made $28,000, but it costs like $3 to make, and it made $28,000, and that's just on the low end. War Room was the top movie in theaters for like the month it came out. God's Not Dead was the #1 movie in America the weekend it opened. Like these things just pull in the dough.
Holy
it's insane.
Crap.
Yeah.
Wow. Have you gotten to VeggieTales yet?
We have not gotten to VeggieTales yet. We do want to do them at some point, and we've talked about them. The problem is, here's the problem with VeggieTales. VeggieTales is a coin flip. Half the episodes are like, I don't know, Mr. Squirrel, don't you think we should share our toys? And half the episodes are like, I am washed in the blood of the Savior. And there's never a warning sign. There's never a moment where you go,
jumps out from behind a rock.
Right. There's never a moment where you go, oh, it's going to be a Jesus-y one. It's always just like they're talking about sharing toys, and you could fucking flip a coin whether or not it's going to be Sesame Street or Sesame Credit. You have no idea. Open Sesame. You have no idea what the fuck's going to happen.
So you'd have to do it as a whole series.
No, you'd have to have other people watch all of them and tell you which are the really religious ones. I guess.
We'll find the bad ones. They've got movies too, which is we wouldn't have to watch the show. They've got a few movies, and the Noah's Ark one particularly because I had seen it before. The Noah's Ark one is pretty abhorrent, so we'll definitely get to Noah's Ark sometime down the line. I have a friend who's actually on Sesame Street right now. He's one of like the main cast members for actual Sesame Street. He's an out bisexual and an atheist, and I desperately want to get him on the show. And I've called him like 3 or 4 times and been like, come on, man. And he's like, dude, I'm on Sesame Street. And I'm like, come on. You know you want to say fuck, shit, and pussy. Come on. Come to the dark side. So cool, You've talked to Elmo enough.
Man. So what you could just use the whole VeggieTales line as like a children's podcast and bring them into God Awful Movies later. You know,
people, I wish I had a nickel for every time someone told us I should start a children's podcast. So I'm glad I'm going to start a kids podcast. It's going to be called Puzzle in a Thunderstorm. And basically each week we walk people through a different step of how to do a puzzle in a thunderstorm. We create a whole generation of kids that can do that.
metal puzzles.
Oh, puzzle! You don't know what a
With
puzzle in a
antennas?
thunderstorm is?
No, I don't.
No.
Oh, okay. So this began as a No, there's a New York thing. This is some deep web. You can't Google this. All right. There's no Urban Dictionary for this. All right. This began. We were reviewing the movies Symbol of the Beast or something of the Beast, the ones that were from the 60s, and
Probably Mark of the Beast.
Mark of the Beast, yeah. And that's the scene. There's a scene where the characters are just doing a puzzle in a thunderstorm. There's a thunderstorm going on and they're doing and I go, and it started as a joke, like, oh, a puzzle in a thunderstorm. And it's been a reoccurring bit on our show ever since that, like, a puzzle in a thunderstorm is just this incredibly depraved sex act. And we add little bits here and there to what it involves. We know it involves a little person right now. There needs to be at least 3 children, and you need to get wet. You need to get wet. Things need to slide in and out with zero resistance if you want to do it right.
Well, I heard Wesley's throat catch there. He might be interested.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a long-standing fantasy of having 2 little people in my fantasy. One might be standing on the shoulders of the other. Just
I get it.
Putting that out there.
So
Yep.
walk me through this.
Please don't ever do a kids podcast.
All right. Noted, but walk me through this. Take me there. There's 2 little people, right? Are they?
Yes.
What are their genders? Does it matter or does it not matter? Are you Rick rolling? What's the deal?
One is definitely female. The other I haven't decided. But
Okay. I like that.
okay.
Open.
Okay. I'm open.
Okay.
Yeah, a little open. Yeah, we'll see.
I get
but
it.
first, it's definitely the little blonde lady from Sylvester. No. Fuck. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's not. He's not a little person. He's actually quite a large man. He's a governor now.
Ex-governor.
But
He used to be a governor.
No, the movie to Mars. What was it? Fucking Total Recall. Remember
Total
the bar
Recall.
scene? Total
Yes.
Recall. The little blonde lady that's in the bar.
Got it.
I want her involved.
Okay.
Okay.
She's on the bottom.
She'll be on. She's haven't decided.
Okay.
You know, she's definitely kind of cute. Yeah. So
Can I say this? You need a hardcore plan for all your fantasies. You need diagrams. You need pictures on your phone because you don't know. You're hanging out. You're at the bar one night. You look down the bar. Who's there? Blonde girl from Mission to Mars and some other little person. And you don't have the words to express what you want to happen that night. The Jello shots are flying, right? The mojitos have been knocked back, and you need a good 3-sentence way to structure what happens next.
And I would only need half the alcohol to convince them.
See? You get it.
Yeah. I could do this.
Oh, wow. On that note, I think it's time for our first break. Atheist Nomads is proudly brought to you by Archway Hosting. Check out their low-price, full-featured hosting solutions at archwayhosting.com. That's ARCHWAY hosting.com.
Hey, we're also brought to you by listeners just like you. Find out how you can become a patron at patreon.com/atheist nomads. That's patreon.com/atheist nomads.
So, Eli, what's your backstory?
So I was born and raised in upstate New York, Binghamton, New York. I am the son of 2 teachers, both professors at Binghamton University. And then my father was an 8th grade English teacher as well. I went to school for acting at NYU, where I studied drama, and I was a double major in drama and classical theater and classical studies is what my degree officially is. So I studied Shakespeare and classical literature along with acting there. And then when I graduated, as you can tell, I became an incredible success as an actor and am currently on Broadway.
Wow.
No, that's not what happened. I like many actors, got a little bit beaten down by New York and ended up working. When I was at NYU, I got into magic, and my passion shifted from acting on stage and acting in film and theater to magic, which is still what I do as part of my day job today. And I run a show in New York called A Taste of Magic, which is New York City's largest magic show.
Wow.
And I perform magic at private events and stuff like that, and have been for the last almost 10 years now. Almost 10 years I've been doing that full time. But yeah, grew up in upstate New York. Still very much an upstate New York kind of person. Like it's funny, I don't have the like upstate New York palsy voice, but
No,
I still
you
have.
definitely sound like you're more like from Williamsburg or Borough Park.
Yeah, no, it's people are always like born and raised in New York, right? And I'm like, nope, this was years of training, years of vocal training to make me not sound like I had to sound out all my words. Although, if you ever listen to my show, every time there's like a tricky word like nuclear, I will mispronounce the shit out of that word for at least 4 episodes until someone tweets me like a picture of them with a gun to their head being like, pronounce it right or I pull the trigger. And I'm like, sorry, how's it pronounced? One of my favorite, so we get a lot of fantastic feedback on the show, and one of my favorite moments ever is someone who's a big fan of the show, and she's tweeted at us a couple of times, and we did the movie International Gorilla J. Which is this absolutely crazy movie. I believe it is the craziest movie we've ever done, because it's about 3 Muslim siblings who go to kill Salman Rushdie, who lives on an island like a Bond villain and executes Muslims with a silver sword. That's the plot.
There's a volcano involved.
There is not a volcano involved, but at one point, all 3 characters are dressed like Batman. His henchman, his like number 2, is called David the Jew. And then he has who was a commander in the Israeli army. There is a scene with killer disco lights where like the disco lights are lasers that murder you. It's pretty crazy. But anyways, so I had never done anything except read that man's name. So the entire episode, if you listen to it, I call him Solomon Rushdie. And the best tweet I ever got was her just going, loved the episode. Really, 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 new tweet. Really, really hard to hear you say Solomon Rushdie over and over and over again.
Oh, wow.
That sounds like a winner, though.
Oh, it's a fantastic film. It's one of our very early episodes, and it's on the Scathing feed as well. But I cannot recommend, watching the movie. It's free on YouTube. It ends, spoiler alert, with 3 magical Korans being summoned out of the sky and lighting Salman Rushdie on fire with lasers. Right. That is the end of that movie.
Holy shit.
That movie never finishes out crazying itself. I cannot recommend it highly enough.
Man.
Holy crap, that's insane.
The only thing better would be like a big giant bukkake finish.
Yeah, I've got those movies, but they're on my hard drive. We're not doing a podcast about that.
All right, so you weren't raised religious though.
So I was raised in a fairly religious Jewish family. Binghamton, New York, where I'm from, has the largest Chabad house. Chabad, there you go. That's what the pop filter's for. Has the largest Chabad house in the world. And so my father was a Maimonides scholar. Maimonides, by the way, for those who aren't familiar. So here's the thing about being Jewish. Jews were way ahead on apologetics. Maimonides was a rabbi who a couple hundred years ago was like, it's all a metaphor. And all the Jews were like, what do you mean? And it was like, it's all a metaphor. And they were like, what about all this terrible shit? And he was like, metaphor. So his name's Maimonides. And Jews love him because he's the best apologetics you can ask for. I mean, they don't go very far, but it's basically like, hey, how about this terrible thing that God said or did? It's a metaphor. What's it a metaphor for? Loving other people. Really? Storing daughters on their doorsteps? Yeah, it's about loving people. It's about being committed. And it's like, oh, okay. So I actually grew up in a fairly religious Jewish family. But when I eventually became an atheist, my mom is certainly not as religious as my father was. She's, I like sort of woo-woo Jew. Like, she thinks my she thinks my dad's still out there in the universe and she'll see him again. And like, sometimes she'll call me and be like, are you feeling sad today? I feel like I'm feeling that you're sad today. And so I grew up on sort of one side of woo woo and like astrology and crystals, and like homeopathy was a big thing for me as a kid. And then on the other side was sort of fairly religious, Maimonic scholardom. So I met them in the middle and didn't believe either of what they thought and became atheists. But they were incredibly supportive. And it's interesting. People write to me and they tell me about these absolutely horrifying experiences they had breaking free of religion. And like, up until like the day, the moment my dad died, we were able to talk about anything. And my father's answer when I was like, well, what about this, this, and this? He'd be like, yeah, that's a good point. You're an asshole. Anyways, you want some food? And I'd be like, yeah, let's get some food. That was his answer. Like at a certain point, whenever my father would reach the point where like he was gonna get mad or it started to challenge something, he was just like, hey, boyo, I haven't told you this lately, but, I look at you and I think about how much you've grown into a big giant asshole, and I just want you to know you're a big asshole. You're just a big old asshole. All right, you want some food? Yeah,
Let's get some Arby's.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get some Arby's. We did get Arby's. You're a psychic.
Oh.
$1 million Randy challenge.
It's those horrible, horrible milkshakes.
The Jamocha shake is not horrible. Fuck you.
Oh, it was the 5 for $5. I don't know if this is still a thing.
Oh, yeah.
But when I was a kid, we would get 10 for 10. We would get 10 sandwiches, Arby's sandwiches for $10.
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect for a growing boy.
That is glorious.
Yeah, exactly.
It's beef and cheddar's where it's at, though.
Oh, beef and cheddar and those curly fries?
Curly fries.
Anyways, this episode of Atheist Nomads sponsored by Arby's.
Yeah. You name a fast food place, I'll name you a couple of things that I'm like, oh yeah, we need that.
All right, let me blow your face off for a second. Are you ready for this?
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna blow your mind.
Okay.
Back and forth and side to side. Have you eaten at Waffle House?
Yeah.
Okay. Because Waffle House, I'm from up north. I literally had Waffle House for the first time 3 weeks ago.
Really? You've been down there for a while, haven't you?
No, I'm in New York City.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's no Waffle Houses in New York. I've never been down south. So I went on a group trip with some friends of mine to Columbus, Ohio, and they had a Waffle House, and I could eat Waffle House every day, every meal for the rest of my life, with the caveat that the rest of my life would be 4 weeks, and then my heart would stop.
Pretty much, yeah.
Huh. I spent a year in the Midwest, and I've been to the South quite a few times, and I'd never even heard of Waffle House.
I've heard of this intangible thing of Waffle House, but I've never partaken.
Let me tell you what's amazing about Waffle House. So the waffles are good, right? Waffles are fine. But the key is the hash browns. Right in the center of the menu. The Waffle House is for when you are too high or drunk to go to Denny's. Like Denny's is too nice a meal for you to enjoy at that point in your life. It's like, no, man, the meth hasn't kicked out all the way yet. You got to go to Waffle House. Denny's is for a higher quality of cuisine that you're ready for. And right in the center of the menu is a big blue square. And there's just like 85 words staring at you and nothing about them. There's just like scattered, smoked, topped, capped, punched, slapped, smothered, right? And literally what you do is you go hash, and they have single, double, and triple, which means you want some, you want a lot, you want too much. And so when your waitress comes over and she doesn't even look at you, she shouldn't look at you in your pathetic face because she shouldn't, because you're a horrible person.
You don't want to make eye contact.
Yeah, no one wants to get to know their waitress. Their name tags at Waffle House just say "fuck yourself" because who are you? You want to get to know people at Waffle House,
and you look the lady booth. You don't make eye contact. You look away.
Yeah, you look the lady in the eye and you go, or gentleman, and you go, smothered, scared, tripled, but and they just bring you a big thing of potatoes with all the conceivable things, all the words you said on top of it, and you eat it, and it's 38 cents, which you pull out of your whole empty pocket that still has your old tooth in it, and you just throw it on the table and you walk away. And at least one
person at the table has a wallet with a chain on it.
Yeah, exactly. It's required. They don't let you in without it.
It
That
really
sounds
is good.
glorious.
Sauteed onions, cheese, ham, tomatoes, jalapeno peppers,
Bacon.
mushrooms. Oh yeah, fucking all of it. Sausage gravy. Oh, the gravy.
And ranch.
Ew. You lost me on that one.
You can put ranch on anything.
Hey, if we're trying to make it go over the top.
I pulled a tooth out of my pocket and Lauren was like, I'm still on board. And you were like, and ranch. And she was like, ugh, come on, shut it down.
Ranch doesn't belong on everything.
But Lauren, I have gotten you to have pizza with ranch.
That's true.
All right, where ranch stops, you put feta on the rest. I'm just saying.
Oh, fancy feta guy, huh?
Fancy feta. Look at you. Greek food over here.
Well, and I think this is also a good point for our next break. We love hearing from our listeners. You can email us at contact@atheistnomads.com, tweet us at atheistnomads, send us a message on our Facebook page at facebook.com/atheistnomads, or better yet, call us and leave us a message at 541-203-0666. We might even play it on the show. You can also help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcast directory of choice.
One of my favorite stories involves actually one of the tiny the little White Castle. Those little tiny burgers. I really do love them. Hello?
Yeah,
Oh,
No, we
okay.
agree. We're just like,
I've never.
You said
had
one of
White
my
Castle.
favorite stories. And I was like, all right.
All right, yeah, okay. Anyways, never had them. Totally like a little Harold and Kumar thing. A few of us went from my base to cross the country to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So we had like a 3.5 hour commute to get down to New York City, and fucking GPS was shit back then. We get lost, end up in the Bronx, and we see a White Castle off the highway. So we get off the next exit, double back, and we're just looking around, and it's kind of nice summer day, kind of getting towards the evening. Old guy sitting in recliners out on the street, kind of weird, but whatever. Okay, keep on driving, and Aaron's looking across the way there, and he's like, "Hey, a baseball game." I'm looking over, like, nah, some dude's getting beat down with a bat. And about a block later, there's our White Castle, and it was just the weirdest sensation.
So that's how
but
you would
it was-
direct people from then on. You'd be like, all right, so you're going to want to go past the murderer, like a block. It's just a block past the murder that's taking place with a baseball bat.
Yeah,
Do you
if
find
see an
yourself
old
at White
dude
Castle?
with a hat in a recliner? Okay, he'll be on the right. Look for the bloody guy on the left. Okay, about a block more. It's gonna be.
You're at the White Castle. You're there.
You're right there. And I've never seen like bulletproof or like thick ass plexiglass in a fast food restaurant until I got to the Bronx.
Yeah.
Weirdest shit ever.
The Bronx and Harlem, they go bank style, literally bank style, like what do they call it? Teller style windows with like
Yeah.
really, really thick bulletproof glass, and you put your money in, and they do like just like the package exchange at the post office. Like you stand on one side of the door, they put the food in, they close the door, you open your door, and you leave because they just get robbed so crazy often. Yeah, buddies of mine live at 125th Street and Broadway, and they have a Popeyes right there, and their Popeyes literally has 24/7 security and teller style booths with like call your numbers, and if you go up before your number's ready, the security like comes over and is like, step away from the glass. That's how often they get robbed, is they're just like, they've got higher levels of security than a casino.
Wow.
At the Harlem Popeyes near me.
it'll
Now,
be a great
Popeyes.
Bond film someday.
for contrast, Lauren and I are in Boise, where you go to the bank, there's no glass.
There's nothing.
Yeah,
You just walk up
they're
and
like-
eat.
Don't get me wrong, Popeye's got some really good red beans, and their biscuits are damn tasty. But fuck, weird.
Oh,
this is odd.
We have had one bank robbery in Boise in the last year.
Ooh.
They busted the guy, but yeah.
This crime thing. Tell me about this, because this is weird. Man, I'm out here in Seattle. It's just like nice and peaceful, and people just sip coffees and talk shit about people. It's weird, man. All right, New York.
There's good parts of New York, right?
Yes, there are good parts of New York. Most of New York, well, here's the thing. It's hard to say like a part of New York is good and a part of New York is bad. And without getting like crazy political, what you see in New York is the results of the drug war. Like what you see in New York is just like, this is what happens when you criminalize a population and police them for a made up, or in some people's opinion, made up, victimless crime. And that's what you really see in areas of the Bronx. Like the Bronx has something like, and I don't want to make up the statistic, but they have such a higher percentage of murder than Manhattan that the Bronx is one of the best places to commit murder and get away with it in the entire United States. Like compared with like Detroit and certain like slums all over the world, there are parts of the Bronx where like it is more likely a murder will go unsolved than that it will go solved. And again, that's just because
the cops don't care.
It's not that cops don't care. It's that the entire area is now dominated by drug traffic. And so the way that crimes generally get solved is with witnesses and people who talk to the police. But if the police can't even get information about who the victim is, if police can't go around the neighborhood without people running inside and shutting their doors, if no one's willing to come in because they've got a record, if no one's willing to talk because they've got a record, if people are going to bounce every so often or get arrested before they can actually be a witness at your trial, it just makes policing an area nightmarish. And the other problem is that, a lot of that murder comes from the drug trade, which again gets reinforced by the drug war. So it's sort of a terrible, vicious cycle that just gets worse and worse in the worst parts of New York. And then what we do is we sort of find the parts of New York that are the least dangerous and we gentrify them. And that's what you see happened in like Brooklyn over the last 5-10 years, is the sort of least dangerous parts of New York where communities were sort of bootstrapping themselves. A bunch of like yuppie college kids moved in and put in Starbucks and coffee shops and raised the rent so that the people who improved those neighborhoods can no longer afford to live there. And that's how the sort of worm of gentrification sort of takes over the areas and makes the areas that are bad even worse.
I was going to talk about Times Square and Disney.
Times Square, I moved into New York in 2007, and Times Square had turned pretty Disney at that point. Like it pretty much made the full transition into Disney. This was 3 or 4 years before they actually shut down the traffic for Times Square itself. And that was the final straw. There was still guys standing around in Times Square, doing the 3-card Monty and doing the 3 shell game and stuff like that until they shut down all of the street traffic in Times Square. And now there's just those 2 crossroads where cars can go and everything else is foot traffic. And now it really is just, it's Bryant Park or Madison Square Park. It's just a totally transformed part of the city.
Fucking weird.
Yeah. Herald Square down to like Union Square has become that new sort of seedier side with the strip clubs and the knockoff purses and wallets and watches. And then, of course, Chinatown is where that all has really moved. The sort of darker side of those things has really moved down to Chinatown, which is at this point almost completely kicked out Little Italy. It's gotten huge.
Wow.
All I see is a battle for the food.
Yeah.
Food battle.
That has the same kind of vibe as like when I went to Japan for ever. If you wanted the knockoff stuff, you actually had to go to Koreatown to get that stuff. Just another rung down, apparently, because Japanese hate all Asians.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that you notice in like Asian culture, because my soon-to-be brother, I'm getting married in August. I'm engaged right now. I'm getting married in August. Thank you. And my brother is married to a Thai woman. And what's interesting that I've noticed about Asian culture is that, as opposed to American culture, is that like being racist towards other people has a totally different vibe than it does in America. Like in America, if you're like, I'm just not a big fan of black people, everyone's like, ugh, gross, what's the matter with you? Or you surround yourself with people who are like, yeah, let's go do that. That's our hobby. We don't like black people. That's fun. Let's get a club. But in Asia, you can very casually be super crazy next level racist and nobody says anything. Like, you could just be like, oh, man, Japanese people, ugh. And you're like, well, you're a doctor. And it's like, doesn't matter. That's how I feel. And everyone's like, yeah, man, Japanese people, I get it.
Wow.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it happens in the news all the time, too. So it's like...
Well, this is an interesting factoid. A buddy of mine is fairly high up at a big production company for movies. And he went to NYU with me. And one of the things we were talking about was Oscars So White. You guys know this controversy that, like, no African Americans were nominated for any of the major acting awards this year at the Oscars.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So there's a big controversy about this, and everyone's sort of like, what's the problem? What's causing the problem? And he was like, look, we can't talk about it, but here's the truth. The second biggest market for movies, one of the biggest markets for movies in the world, is the Asian market. And they hate black people. And he was like, look, I have buddies who worked on Pacific Rim. They should have made an extra $50 million. And the minute people in China saw Idris Elba in the ads, they just didn't go to the movie.
Oh, it's so sad because he's so awesome.
And he's amazing. He's incredible. But it's one of those weird things that it's like, you haven't heard anyone talk about, but like everyone on the production side of movies doesn't want to step forward and be like, yeah, guys, we realize that's a problem, but like, they don't want to see it.
I wonder if that's like a big reason why he's not in line, like already announced as the next Bond.
Well, he should have been the Daniel Craig Bond. He should have been the Daniel Craig Bond. And I would guess, and I don't... Oh, you don't think he would have been a good Bond?
I mean, he would be a fucking amazing Bond, but I really like that Daniel Craig has been a really good Bond as well.
I think he's been okay. I hated Skyfall.
Skyfall, yeah. Casino Royale.
Skyfall was basically awesome. Like this. Skyfall was like, hey, you know James Bond? And I was like, yeah, I know James Bond. I love James Bond. And they were like, you ever wonder what would happen like when he was old and couldn't do his job anymore? No, I don't ever wonder that. Well, we made a whole movie. It's like Home Alone, but with James Bond. There's a whole 40 minutes where he does Home Alone to terrorists because he's old now and can't fight or jet ski anymore. He just can't do pull-ups.
And they didn't even do that with Roger Moore when he was 70.
No, Roger Moore was 89 years old. Roger Moore turned halfway into dust during one scene. Someone bumped into him and like half of his arm fell off. And they were like, oh, James, you're so strong. I, a 14-year-old girl, want to have sex with you. And they were like, yup, great, print. Put it in the can. Someone wake up Roger. It's time for credits.
So back to the atheist movie theme. Well, not atheist movie, but religious movies. So you pretty much can choose from any religion, right? Mm-hmm. You make fun of them all equally. Do you find that the American evangelical crowd is the biggest?
Yeah, no question. I mean, so the other thing is like, a lot of the movies that we do are Christian because the movies that we do are mostly in English. We get sent movies all the time where people are like, you got to do this Hindu movie. You got to do this, Muslim movie and stuff like that. And they're incredibly hard to find even with subtitles, like not just in English, but even with subtitles. So we tend to do evangelical Christian movies a lot more. Also, they're sort of our comfort zone. Like I know the other thing is like a lot of the time when I watch a movie with a culture that I'm not familiar with, I'm like, okay, that's crazy. Like International Gorilla J, there's a scene where everyone jumps out at one point and they're all dressed like Batman. That's crazy. I know that's crazy. I can do 20 minutes on how crazy that is. But I'm really in my wheelhouse when I'm watching a movie like Christian Mingle the movie, where a girl apologizes to the date that just abandoned her for a month for not being Christian enough when they met. Like, that's really my wheelhouse. I feel much more comfortable mocking that kind of thing. But yeah, we try to spread it out fairly evenly.
So there is a little bit of trying not to insult everybody. While
No,
also insulting the religion.
we're definitely not pulling punches. It's really just about finding the right things to do it with. Like when we do a movie, so like one of the movies we were super excited to do was called Soaring Eagle or something like that. And it was this Hindu movie about this superhero who like turns himself into an arrow, which then has laser vision. And it was totally crazy and next level. And we were super excited to do it. And then either we talked to a friend of our friend and they were like, hey, none of this has anything to do, like this isn't a religious movie. This is just like a superhero movie in the style of Bollywood. It's not a religious movie. None of these are like the religious beliefs. And we were like, all right, well, we'll go back to the Christians. We know what they think. So yeah, we try to do it as evenly as we can, but I will admit we definitely have an American and especially an evangelical Christian bias.
Okay, so
easy target. Easy target.
Easy targets.
Pick the low-hanging fruit there.
Exactly. We take the low-hanging fruit.
So are you going to do
wonderful Mormon cartoons?
Oh, the Mormon cartoons. Oh my God.
Yeah, there are Mormon cartoons. There are Mormon sketches. The problem is there's not a lot of like full-length Mormon movies.
No,
like full length.
Really.
Like there's Just a Cup of Coffee is one of the best ones, and it's on YouTube, and I can't recommend it enough. It's like a 5-minute like PSA on the dangers of drinking coffee, and it makes, if possible, you know those truth commercials where it was like, if you smoke pot, you'll probably take out your dad's gun and shoot your friend in the face. It's that, but with coffee. That's what it is. It's just like, oh, I had so much coffee, I feel like I can run a mile. And then he like jumps out a window and like rapes himself to death on the way down. It's just totally
screams.
Yeah, exactly. Next level crazy. But there's not a ton of we're working our way around to the Mormon stuff, but really we need something full length before we can go full Mormon. We want something that's all the way.
All right.
Yeah.
Not just Orgasmo.
Yeah, exactly. Not just Orgasmo, which is fantastic and does all the mocking that it needs.
That's true. It's pretty good on its own, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal.
Oh, that's good.
Kind of like Four Lions. Have you seen that one?
No.
No?
No.
It is 2010 British comedy. There's 4 Muslim guys that are trying to do a jihad, but it's totes a satire.
Oh, no, I haven't seen this.
Yeah, it's pretty... It's good, but it's sad. Because, I mean, these bumbling... It's like the bumbling idiots trying to pull a jihad.
In England, yeah. So, check it out.
Awesome.
Four Lions.
I will check it out.
It wouldn't be good for the show, but it would be fun to watch.
But it would be fun for personal.
Good, yeah, exactly. Good for my... And it's crazy at this point, because, I watch at least one Christian movie a week, depending on whether or not we're trying to get ahead or if we're recording episodes. Like, we will occasionally record an episode in case we get sick or something happens, and it hasn't happened yet. We just have episodes in the can. But, like... So I'm watching at least one Christian movie a week, and it's gotten to the point where people are like, oh my gosh, did you see like The Revenant? And I'm like, I haven't. Have you seen What Would Jesus Do 2? Because it's got Cliff from Cheers in it. Have you seen that one? No? Why am I the only one talking? Oh, everyone left at the party. All right. It's just me again. Yay, bean dip.
Yay, bean dip. All for yourself.
Oh, poor Cliff.
Yeah, a lot of my journey doing this show is learning that like people I liked as a child, actors I liked as a child, when their careers ended, went crazy and are now Christian. So like I'll see Dean Cain or Kevin Sorbo or Melissa Joan Hart is in God Not Dead 2. And she looks awful, by the way. She looks like someone just like she looks like Kylo Ren had a fit at a beanbag chair. And then they just put it in a dress and they were like, there you go. That's Melissa Joan Hart now. That's what she looks like.
Fucking, what was it? Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch, yeah.
And Clarissa Explains It All, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's fantastic.
Grow up with that.
No, but she's crazy and sad now, and it's a bummer. And Kevin Sorbo's super crazy and sad because he's did God Not Dead, and he's in God's Not Dead 2, I think. I'm not sure.
He'll always be my Hercules.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's fantastic. You know how he went crazy, right?
No.
He went to a chiropractor. He went to a chiropractor, and they fucking whacked him, and he had a stroke. Sure. And had this incredibly long recovery period. And during the recovery period, he found Jesus. Aww. So if you wanted another reason to be mad at chiropractic, what?
What, was he hiding under their bed, cutting his grass? What?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, we're going to take our final break, and then we'll be back.
If you like the show, consider giving us some financial support. We make it really easy with one-time donations or to support us on a per episode, monthly, or even annual basis using PayPal or Patreon. Find out more at atheistnomads.com. Use the links on the right side of the page. $1 an episode is all we ask. Please, think of the kittens.
All right, is there something else that you would like us to cover?
Well, I have a question, and this is, I don't want to get crazy political, but I actually have a question for Lauren. Is that all right?
Whoop whoop. Who's in his house?
Here's the thing, for anyone who's not like, who doesn't listen to me when I try to be serious and not funny, is one of the things that I talk about is like social justice and the problems with social justice, or the anti-social justice, anti-feminist movement that's pretty strong in atheism right now. And I talk about it because I'm a comedian and I'm a satirist, and so I talk about, one of the things I try to talk about is like the difference between satire and like saying something mean-spirited or vicious or misogynistic or racist, and then later going, oh, I was joking and you hate free speech. And
that happens a lot.
And so the question I have is like, as a woman in atheism and a pretty like out there one, someone who's the host of a show, someone who's very public and out there, what do you think that we could, because this is a question I get all the time, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm a white dude and it's the easiest thing in the world to be me. The joke I used to do about how easy it is to be a white guy is, it's so great to be a white guy that if you take off all your clothes and go out into the street, other people are scared of you. That's how fantastic it is. Any other kind of combination of person and people fuck or murder you instantly. Ladies can't, oh, I took off all my clothes. Fuck, dead. Black guy, boom, we shot you. You had a weapon. What? My dick. It's a weapon. Bam, you're dead. White guys, you run out there and they're like, someone tackle him so we can start the soccer game again.
Yeah.
So my question,
let's give him a blanket.
Yeah.
Well, I have to admit that when I first got into this, I didn't think that it was such a big deal, being a girl and an atheist. And then all of the skeptic and anti-feminism rhetoric started to become more popular. There's always some new debacle going on, right, where somebody's insulted by somebody. And it really just comes down, I think, to people being too obsessed with certain words. So everybody has their own definition of what feminism is. And if one person uses it in a context that the other person wouldn't normally use it, they attack that person. And it's semantic. And I can't stand it. I just prefer to stay out of it.
Sure.
There's also this assumption that if you're an atheist woman, you are probably a failure at family, that you don't care about children or some other little, it's never actually said, but I hear it in people's voices a lot in these controversies. And as hard as it is to be a female atheist, it's even harder to be a female or an atheist mother. Those are the people I really feel bad for, because it's like, oh, well, I feel so sorry for your children. It's like, what?
Yeah, because like, what are they going to do at Christmas? And it's like the same shit your kids do at Christmas.
Seriously.
Fucking get presents because of Saturnalia.
I was raised Unitarian, so we were like, any excuse for a party.
Okay, wait, I'm going to tangent with you for a second, Lauren, because I have a big thing about UUs. All right? Because my fiance was raised Unitarian Universalist. Her family is atheist, but they went to a Unitarian Universalist church. And Unitarian Universalists are just atheists with a community center. They're like, we would really like a place to get together once a week.
Right.
Now, did you have OWL growing up?
OWL?
OWL,
No.
the sex, like the sex ed thing.
Oh my God. Yeah, okay, so my sisters did. My older sisters had sex camp. We just called it sex camp.
Because this is the thing. All right, Lauren, back me up on this because I talk about this all the time. You girls, what they do is they sit all the you girls down and they're like, ladies, listen up. Just suck the dick. You can't really get anything. You won't get pregnant. Just suck the dick. And every you woman I've ever met is like, yeah, that's pretty much what they told us. I mean, they also told us about like gay rights and stuff like that. But like our sex ed, I remember very clearly being instructed to suck a dick.
I personally didn't go through it.
Oh, you didn't go through it?
I was too much of a prude at my age.
To go to sex camp?
But I do know that my older sister did come home one day and ask my parents why boys did it in the butt.
You get it, right?
That was obviously covered.
There's this you conspiracy.
It's very open and pro-sex. So they would sit there and they would make condom jewelry and sell it for a fundraiser. And yeah, you know, there's ways to suck a dick and ways to not suck a dick. Don't use your teeth. But it's not like they're sitting these girls down and telling them you have to suck dicks. I don't think that's really.
Oh, I didn't think they were like demanding. I don't know. That's a Catholic camp. That's the other side.
They are totally like, okay, so this is this is.
Because everyone
sex
I know
camp in the best and worst ways that you can imagine.
Because here's the other side of that. Everyone I know who's ever gone on a single date with a UU girl has married her. I dated women for years. I'm marrying my UU girl. My buddy Robert was a computer technician. He went on one date with this girl, and then literally the next time I heard from him, he had moved to Ithaca, New York with her and was getting married. And I was like, how much dick suck? What do they teach you at UU? What beads do they put together? What pinky technique are you being taught? So you can't listen. I get it. It's like 9/11. You can't really reveal the real truth. But I'm just saying, if out the people are looking for a new conspiracy theory, I think there's a secret UU dick sucking technique that apparently Lauren didn't get because she was too afraid to go to sex camp.
Yeah, sorry,
but
Dustin.
It's out there, but you support it. You support that This is a real thing.
Very sex positive, and I think it has a lot to do with who UU girls choose to marry more than anything.
I say this to my buddies all the time. I'm like, guys, you got to date UU girls. And they're like, no, you're just making that thing up. And I'm like, no. They have a camp where they just train them. It's like those, you ever see that movie G.I. Jane? Yeah, like G.I. Jane, except it's just dicks. It's just like, I got to crawl under this blazer wire full of dicks. And I got to climb up this wall full of dicks. That's what I picture UU camp being like.
Not quite, because there's a whole second area of the camp where it's all vaginas. So...
Oh.
You get that
No,
too.
that sounds ridiculous to me. That sounds ridiculous, Lauren.
She's not lesbian. She is a woman who fell in love with another woman, is how she puts it. But yeah, they're happily married, and she was raised UU. She's the one that went to the sex camp first and went to it the most times. So she obviously learned some skills.
There you go. She learned something.
All
right,
machine.
UU's got dick sucking, but you know, if you get a good Mormon girl and never marry her, you'll get anal sex forever.
No, this is a lie to try and get people to marry Mormons.
No, Mormon girls are perfect if you've grown up and you realize you really just want to marry your mom.
Yeah.
When she's 20.
When she was 20.
Yeah.
She'll give you babies and she'll make you so much freezer jam. It's insane.
No Mormon girl will date someone forever because they have to get married and start making babies by 20 or they're failures.
Yeah, they've got to get their freezer jam recipe down.
They will give up the butt, though.
I have been on one date with a Mormon girl. I've been on one date with a Mormon girl, and she went to school with me. And this is the story.
Did you get
We went out to a restaurant. No, I'll tell you exactly how this date went. We went out to a restaurant, and we were talking, and I was like, yeah, and this fucking, and she went, and I was like, and it was like one of those moments where we're in a cartoon where you push the button to make sure it's making the noise. I was like, oh, she must have just like shifted in her chair. Maybe she had like a fart that she thought was a poop. Like, I don't want to call her out on it. And so then I like very casually, I waited a couple of sentences and then I swore again. I was like, anyways, he's a fucking, and she was like, oh, and I was like, oh my God. She's going to do that every time, I swear. So I then delivered the dirtiest monologue I could possibly think of and just watched this girl freeze and slowly melt in terror. I was just like, oh man. And I was like, the other day I stepped on my toe and I was like, oh shit on my tits. Oh, fuck me right in my face tits, fat. Oh, shoot me in the dick hole with a shit fucker. And she was just, I just watched as her face grew and grew. It was like The Ring. Remember when the girl crawls out of the ring? And then you come in and see the guy and his face is all twisted up. That's what I imagine her face was at the end of our dinner. And at the end of the night, I'll never forget this. At the end of the night, I was like, look, don't go in for a kiss or even a hug. You've exposed this person to a horror show. You had the decency to pay for dinner. And so I said, good night. I was like, oh, okay, good night. And I walked her to her door and stuff like that. And I was like, good night. It's really fun meeting you. And I went for a handshake and she literally looked at my hand, looked at me, got a pained expression on her face, turned around, and I never saw her again. I literally never saw that human being who I went to school with again in my life. I assume after that, she went upstairs, packed her bag, moved away, never saw her again. She's in Utah, right? She was like, I tried one date with one Jewish guy in New York, and he just talked about shitting on his tits and fucking him in his dick hole, and I'd never again.
Never again. No, but ex-Mormon girls are fantastic.
Oh, ex-Mormon girls are any anything.
That's
like,
true.
let's not beat around the bush.
Because you get all the good stuff from their culture and like not the bad stuff.
And
so
you get all the hang-ups.
You get all the funeral potatoes and Jello salads, but not the ones with the fruit and the vegetables because that's gross. But like the real Jello salads with whipped cream.
But this is true of
Jello salads with vegetables.
Yeah, dude.
With celery.
Have you never had a carrot? Have you never had shaved carrots in your Jello salad?
Yeah, it's really good. No, it's like a carrot cake. It's good. Yeah, it's delicious. It's fantastic.
Wesley's entire life is just like, what?
Just crashed around his head.
It's like that Mormon girl you dated.
Yeah, exactly. See, I'm just crushing brains left and right. But wait, here's the thing about...
I love cooking. And no, carrots, no. Sous vide. I will cook you some sous vide. Oh, God,
celery? You can get Jello salad with celery in it?
Oh, celery, a little bit of crunch. Mix up that texture. Oh, and that water, it's like a Jello gusher. Oh, watercress. Potato. Potato soaked, brined pickles. Human fingers.
No, just the fingernails.
Fingernails.
Oh, there was one movie I was going to ask you about. Have you ever covered The Infidel?
No.
Oh my God.
What is this? Is this
awesome.
good?
Yeah, they've described him as the Homer Simpson of Muslims. Basically, this is a Britcom from 2010, and this guy discovers who his real father is. And his father apparently was Jewish. So here's this Muslim who has to figure out where he belongs in this world, as he wasn't born Muslim, he was actually born Jewish, and what does that mean? And his wife is like a progressive Muslim woman, and then his brother is like super conservative. He's like, just go talk to his wife for a little while. It'll be fun. She's like, no, I will not go in that closet where the women talk to each other. It's insane.
That's great. I will definitely check that out.
This is something you have to promise me. Okay.
I promise
There's a film that you have to watch called A Serbian Film.
Oh, are you kidding? A Serbian film? I've watched that movie like 4 times.
All right, I'm
way ahead of you. Now, here's the question. You talking edited version or unedited version?
No, the one that gets me kicked off of websites, the unedited version.
Unedited version has the smother blowjob.
Yes.
Okay, that's the version. Yes, I've seen that movie several times.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen Megan is Missing?
No.
Okay. You get your kid. You got kids?
No.
You get someone else's kids.
I can borrow some.
You gather them around the TV. Doesn't matter.
Kid.
Get an ice cream truck. Tell them they can get in for free. Whatever. However you get them there. You watch Megan is Missing. Change your life. Spiritually.
Oh. Yeah. I'm kind of... Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm down for this.
It's kind of hard to comment on a movie you've never seen.
Oh, yeah.
No,
trust me.
I'm guessing you probably don't want to.
Oh, you want to You want to see Megan is Missing. Yeah, no, it's interesting. That's sort of like gore genre I do okay with because I've been on the other side of the camera. I've done some production work. So I'm just like it's whenever I watch Hostel and stuff that like freak people out because of the gore, I'm just like, wow, that is so well done. Like there's just a part of me that disconnects, and the part of me that's been on the other side of the camera is just like, man, they must have worked for 5 hours on that. That's such a good piece of special effect.
See, there is a certain art to it that you can have to appreciate as a person who like enjoys gore. I personally, I hate it, so I don't watch those movies. But a part of me wishes I could just to appreciate the setup and completion of that one shot of the rib cages blowing open and being able to actually discern the different organs. That's important.
Gore goes from like completely campy, like Dead Alive, to like fun
Cannibal
stuff.
Holocaust.
Yeah, or like to me, like the other end for me is like Ichi the Killer, where there's some really awesome shots.
Yeah.
Of fucked up shit.
Yeah.
Like cutting your own tongue off.
Yeah, you know.
What's it? What's that? The Korean one that they just remade an American version of that wasn't even closest to as good. Oh, where he keeps him in captivity for 13 years. You know what I'm talking about, right? He cuts his own tongue off in it.
Oh no! Yeah.
Oh, it's one of the best movies ever made.
Obviously.
Oh, so one of your listeners is yelling at their phone right now. They're like, "It's this! It's this!" It's got this amazing guy in it. He ate squid. He ate live squid, even though he's like a vegan, and he had a huge breakdown about it. It's a fantastic movie. Anyways, when you find it, it's I'll remember it. I'll remember it and then I'll send it. Old boy. Have you seen Old Boy?
One. Okay, Old Boy. No, that one's fucked up. Okay.
Old Boy's phenomenal, but it's an incredible movie. Like it's probably one of the top.
Like if anybody is into that genre, Old Boy's that's the one that people buy posters of. You gotta have the Old Boy poster up in your room.
It's also one of the like top 50 movies of all time. Like just as far as like the performances go, it's just universally transcendent and dark and beautifully shot. It's just an absolutely.
I can't watch it.
Oh yeah, no, it's
too much for me. I can't watch it. But my friends love it, so I have heard of it and I know of it. I'm like, I know what that movie is. I had to Google it.
Now here's a fun one, and this is the scariest movie you'll ever see. Now, a lot of people don't know about it. Have you seen Wait Until Dark?
No.
Wait Until Dark is an old movie.
I can be grossed out, but I don't get scared.
It's not a gore movie. It's got Audrey Hepburn. I'm 99% sure. Audrey Hepburn plays a blind woman. And it's from like the 60s or 70s. It's not like a recent movie. Audrey Hepburn plays a blind woman who's being hunted through her apartment by a murderer. And it is so well done. It's the scariest movie you'll ever see. Like just because it's all psychological. All the terror is psychological. And it's just incredibly well constructed and done and scripted and acted. It will scare every friend I ever have who's like, I'm not really scared of horror movies. I'm like, we want to watch Wait Until Dark? And then they're like curled up in my arms and they're like, make it stop. And I'm like, 20 minutes left. It's phenomenal. And
it does have a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's an incredible movie. It's an incredible movie. Yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough. It's really good. Here's the other thing, though, about scary movies, and this is going to sound super weird. I was never scared of scary movies where a guy was coming to kill people, like Funny Games or Clockwork Orange, which I know isn't technically a horror movie, but you know what I'm talking about. Because I grew up with a master martial artist as a father. He wasn't like an official, like in any capacity, but he just did a ton of martial arts, a ton of especially like Filipino knife fighting. So I always grew up in a world where I was like, I grew up and he was a giant guy and sweet as sugar and like a great teacher and an amazing, amazing man, but just really one of the like deadliest human beings I ever have met happened to be my dad. So I was always like, yeah, I'm not scared of Jason because, like, you see Jason has a machete, but Dad would go kate and he'd probably, like, sever his arms and then he'd be able to do this, this, and this. And my friends would be like, Eli, you're weird. And I'd be like, no, my dad's crazy. It's not my fault. So the only movies I can ever
beat up
no
your
Krav
dad.
Maga?
No Krav Maga, and here's why. The problem with Krav Maga is it's made... No, not at all. Not at all. It's made for police forces. It's not meant to kill you. Like, they'll break all your arms and legs, but they're not supposed to kill you. Again, I don't want to get any hate mail from... I'm sure there's one martial art nerd out there who's like, you, sir, have not read the fourth book of the seventh ring, and I will meet you in the octagon. First of all, I'm a total pussy. The martial art I know is how to get to the buffet faster than you, so you already won there. Don't try and put me in an arm choke monkey kung fu hold. Go fight my dead dad. He and you could talk about that forever. But the Filipino martial arts, at least as was always communicated to me, were always meant for like killing zombies. Like, you cut someone's arms off and then you sever all their tendons and then you stab them in the throat a bunch of times. Like, just because you can't just stab them in the throat or sever their arms. So that was the stuff that he did. And so I always grew up in this weird thing that, like, The Exorcist scared me because, like, I didn't know that my dad could fight The Exorcist, but I watched Funny Games and The Purge, and I was like, whatever, come into my house, great. I'm gonna sit in my room and listen to y'all scream. I don't even care. I don't even care.
Messed up on its own right.
Yeah. And my father was incredibly gentle. I saw him, and it's interesting, you know, I think there's a weird crossover between like atheism and martial arts, because there's this sort of fascination among a lot of atheists with like the scientific side of martial arts, like BJJ, like Sam Harris does it, and Bogosian's into it, and like a bunch of atheists are just like, there's this big crossover between the two, with Matt Thornton obviously is like a speaker on both sides of the issue, Joe Rogan on both sides of the issue. So there's this weird crossover between the two worlds. And one of the things that was so interesting is growing up with someone who was capable of actual like violence. It's interesting to watch someone and go, yeah, that's not me. Like, there's no amount of training. And again, that person's going to email me and be like, you, sir, do not understand. But there's no amount of training that will ever make me capable of doing that kind of stuff. Because I'm just like, and again, this is the story I always tell. I've been in 3 fights ever, and 2 out of the 3 times I just let someone hit me. Because I was just like sorry that I had made them mad enough to hit me. Because I'm a marshmallow poof. I'm just a marshmallow poof.
Like, your own guilt trip is beating you up enough that this other person can't possibly do any more damage.
Yeah, exactly. In 6th grade, I called a kid's girlfriend a hoe. And he ran across the room and punched me in the face. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. That's what I said. I was like,
that. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. And then the other time, and this is one of my favorite stories. So I went to school. So I was a bully, and I've mentioned that before. But I didn't bully kids that were like unpopular. I just bullied everyone because I was full of hatred and rage. Just everyone, everybody in the world. Equal opportunity bully. And so there was a kid in my school whose name was DJ. And in 6th grade, DJ, and this is very important to the story, DJ was the gentlest kid I've ever met to this day. Just like a sweet, nice-spirited, fantastic kid. And in 6th grade, DJ's dad died. And I was just making fun of him for it. I was just always making fun of him for it. I was always like, hey, say hi to your dad for me. And he's just like, yeah, no, I was a terrible person. And so, and again, this is 6th grade. You gotta imagine this is a 6th grade kid. So finally, he pulls me aside. And you gotta imagine the maturity of a kid to do this. He pulls me aside and he's like, Eli, I know you're just joking around, and I know that your thing is to like bully people and do stuff like this, but I'm really hurting right now, and I need you to stop. I need you to stop. Please, please stop making those jokes. And I was like, okay. And I came in the next day and I had a card, like one of those Hallmark cards. And I was like, hey man, in front of everybody, I was like, hey DJ, I know I've been making a lot of these jokes lately. I'm really sorry. Please, I wrote down some thoughts and I want you to have this. And I'm really sorry that I said those things. And he opens it and it's a Father's Day card. There's a Father's Day card. And he kicked the crap out of me. And it's really important. And it's great because it's one of the few times I just saw the beast inside of him, and a gentle, sweet, good kid. This is not, but I just broke him, and he just punched me, and I didn't hit him back because why would I? I deserved all the fun fighting I was getting. And it was just, he kicked the crap out of me, just like totally kicked the crap out of me. And my parents came to school and they were like, well, obviously DJ's going to get expelled. And everyone in the room, including me, universally was like, oh, no. He will not be punished for this at all. And he literally got zero punishment. Just everyone in the school, myself included, was like, no. I drove DJ to madness. I was the Joker. He was fucking Batman. And he snapped. It's the Killing Joke. Don't blame DJ.
Yes.
See, it would be interesting now to go back and find DJ and ask him, did that help
The two
being
people
able to beat up your bully and get away with it? Did that change your life at all?
So the two people's psyche that I've cracked, I'm still friends with on Facebook. And I check in with them occasionally. There's him and one other person, and I can tell you that story. It's the story of why I'm the worst person in the world, if you'd like it.
Well, I think Dustin had something to say.
Dustin, go ahead.
As the victim in school for third grade through about sophomore year in high school, no, it doesn't help. By the time you finally start landing punches, the damage is done.
Oh.
Yeah. And in my case, it all stopped when I got to 6 foot.
Oh, so you naturally had a
but I was
your height.
I was a different kind of bully though, because I wasn't bullying I rarely, and now that I think about it, and when I look back on this and talk about it, I rarely picked on the kid who you imagine people picking on. I just picked on kids who I found things to pick on about. The captain of the football team, like the cheerleader. I just found someone who I wanted to make fun of and made fun of them. So like, it's rare for me to go back and be like, oh, I was a bully to the kids who were like got bullied. The kids who got bullied rarely interested me because they were sad or they had stuff going on. I was like, I'm going to make the captain of the football team cry. I want to see if I can make him beat me up.
I had my 7th grade teacher was fresh out of college. She was trying to get a feel for the class and was sure I would have been the most popular kid, and then found out no, I was the victim that everybody bullied. What had happened was in 3rd grade, I was the new kid.
Oh.
From then on, I was the bullied kid.
Yeah.
And it just stuck. And so all new kids that came in after that, they got to be popular by bullying me.
Yeah, because you were the bullied kid. Oh,
yeah,
that's rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can see Dustin over there like, God, I want to punch this guy in the face
It's too late.
just for
I'm
all
far
the stuff
away.
he did in the past.
It's far away.
I know one of my bullies is in prison.
Oh.
Well, that's got to be satisfying on some end.
He raped someone.
Oh.
No, there's nothing satisfying about that.
Bring that down.
He was a horrible scum of a human being, and that never changed.
Ugh. Well, I was not that kind of bully, and I have
ass.
never raped anybody. I just want to be clear. I'm not the kind of bully.
You're not a rapist. You're an asshole. There's a difference.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. I'm reclaiming that word.
Another one of my bullies is a mortician.
Totally different orifice.
Nice.
Mortician.
Well, respect to the mortician.
Do you want to hear
bank?
Do you want to hear my favorite bullying story of all time? Of me as a bully?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's you ever play that game, I'm a Terrible Person Because?
Yeah, I've done that.
Okay, so this is the game. This is how I win that game. And anytime I ever tell that story, this is how I win that game. Sure. So when I was in 8th grade, this is 8th grade now, there was a girl in my school named Amanda Mullen. And Amanda Mullen had terrible, crippling vertigo. And for people who don't know, that's where you can't go on heights. And it was to the extent that she couldn't climb stairs to get to any of her classes. So they moved all of her classes downstairs. Yeah, she couldn't climb stairs to get to her class. She couldn't moved all her classes downstairs. And it was irritating because she was always like, oh, my vertigo. Blah, 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 blah. We didn't like it. And again, she was a popular kid, but like she was always like, my vertigo. Blah. So at the end of 8th grade, 2 things happened simultaneously. The first is everyone in my 8th grade class went to a place called Dorney Park, which is a amusement park in upstate New York, with roller coasters and rides and stuff like that. And there also, I learned that Amanda Mullen got a crush on me. And here was the rule. And when you had a crush on someone in 8th grade, you'd be like, hey, let's be partners. And then you would sneak off where the chaperones were and you'd make out a little bit. And that was like the big thing to do in 8th grade. So I was like, Amanda, do you want to be my partner on the 8th grade trip? And she was like, yes, I do. And I was like, here's the thing. I really want to ride roller coasters. Are you okay with that? And here's the thing. Everybody in my school was like, oh, Amanda's faking her vertigo. Amanda's faking her vertigo. I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is if she was faking it, she would have been like, oh, no, I can't, my vertigo. I think she was just a kid with a disability who had a crush on a boy and thought she could overcome it. So we get to, exactly. You're not even there yet. You're not even a little bit there yet, Lauren. You know how you feel now? You're at the bottom of the mountain. So we get to Dorney Park and I'm like, look, we'll just ride one roller coaster. And the entire ride there, like, she's not having fun because she's so nervous about having to go on these roller coasters. And I'm like, look, we'll ride one roller coaster and then we'll go. We'll be fine. And then we'll just spend the rest of the day hanging out. And she's like, okay. So we go to this thing called the Hercules, which is a wooden roller coaster, or it's like the mountain or something. It's a wooden roller coaster. It's super tall. It's like as tall as the Statue of Liberty or something like that. And we're climbing the stairs. Her vertigo is so bad that literally she's having to stop and sit down on the stairs that go up to the platform. And it's one of those ones that's like platform, roller coaster, platform to get off, right? We get up to the thing and the guy who runs the ride is like, hey, you're tall enough so I'm not legally able to be like, you're not allowed to ride this coaster, but I watched you climb the stairs. Don't do this. And she's like, no, I'm fine. I'll be okay. Let me go. And he's like, please don't do this. She's like, no, I'm fine. So I'm like, okay, great. So we get in. I put her in the roller coaster. I lock her in. It's one of those ones that goes over your shoulders. And then I get off because I don't like roller coasters. So she's now alone on the roller coaster.
Oh,
and here's the best part of this story. You know how you can buy the photograph of the person as they go over the first hill? I bought the photograph.
Was she even awake? Was she even conscious?
Oh, she was awake. I still have the photograph. I have the photograph. I keep it. It's still in my personal effects because it's a photo of somebody going insane. As you can see, there was a moment before in her life, and then there was that roller coaster, and there's a moment after because her face. It's just you can see the child within her eyes turning into an adult because the world is a terrible place, and I was the manifestation of that for her. And so I still have that photo. And usually when I finish this story, I show people the photo because it's fantastic. It's just, and you can see it. You can absolutely see what I'm talking because it's just a madness in a human being's eyes. But she, at the end, so she had a panic attack on the roller coaster. The paramedics came and got her. And that summer her dad moved. So my real move into funny and bullying is that summer she moved away, and I went into high school as the guy who had killed Amanda Mullen. Everyone was like, he killed Amanda. She died on that roller coaster, and her family moved away to a government research facility for vertigo somewhere. And so that's how I entered high school, and that's my I'm a terrible person story. That's a
pretty awful.
It's just like that split second when Milhouse's heart just broke off The Simpsons. You could just see it.
Oh, it wasn't Milhouse. It was Ralph.
Was it Ralph Wiggum?
It was Ralph that she broke, whose heart she broke, wasn't it?
Really? I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Lisa was a little bit of a trollop.
Because she gave him a pity Valentine, and he started going crazy. Right?
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're out of time. So, Eli, what do you have to pimp?
Well, check out God Awful Movies. Now that I am no longer a bully and I have applied my evil heart and mind for good, you can check out God Awful Movies on iTunes. You can also follow me on Twitter. I am at Eli Bosnick, E-L-I, B as in boy, O, S as in silly, N-I-C-K. On Twitter, just at Eli Bosnick. And I also appear on The Scathing Atheist, so you can check that out as well.
All right, and the links to all of those will be in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you so much. This is a blast.
All right.
And for our listeners, we'll be back next week with news. Thank you for listening to another episode of Atheist Nomads. You can find show notes and contact information at atheistnomads.com. Follow us on Twitter at Atheist Nomads, and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Atheist Nomads. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcatcher of choice, and while you're there, feel free to leave us a review. Theme music is courtesy of Sturdy Fred. Until next time, this has been the Atheist Nomads.